Hello there. I am Karen Bailey. I am a therapist that works a lot with autism at the Western Tidewater Community Services Board. Today, the question that I've been asked is, as an adult who has autism, is it best to get a therapist who has experience in neurodiversity? Well, the first answer is yes. Why is that? Let me explain. So neurodiversity is the idea that your brain of a person who has autism is a little bit different neurologically than a person who doesn't. We call that neurotypical. Why is this important? Because how we respond and react to life stresses and manage our lives is different. So going back to the question is it important that a therapist understand neurodiversity if they're working with a client who has autism? Is that it makes a difference in how they would give interventions and understand what the problem is. So for instance, an example of that would be anxiety. Anxiety is a very real part of autism, because autism is about not of being really uncomfortable with new settings and new situations that they cannot predict. So if a person has anxiety and has a autism diagnosis, I know that I need to help them to understand how to calm themselves and predictability in their lives and just different things that will affect, that really respond to neurodiversity. But if I didn't know that, if I didn't know that that was an issue with autism, I would treat them like other clients and look at the triggers like a neurotypical person, which would affect how much compassion I show, how the length of time that I spend with a client. It would affect the work that I do. So I do agree that it is best for those who have autism that they learn to have somebody who has, they have a therapist who has neurodiversity background, because that information informs how they will address neurodiverse issues. They're in the past, I'll say back, I like to say back in the olden days, back 30 years ago when autism was not as common or talked about as much as it is now, what was very common was ABA or other forms of behavioral therapy. Behavioral therapy was done so that in a constant repetition to help children mostly to learn how to do things normally. And normal is like what we would typically think is what most people do. But I would say that isn't healthy. It isn't helpful, especially if there's a trauma background, because that just creates more distress, because guess what? We're all different. And that's the exciting thing about life, is that we're all different. And that's neurodiversity, is that we embrace what is different and help them to explore all that. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.